So in this video, it's the second part of 1.1. This is just extra examples for you to see how the problems will be worded and what they're expecting for you to do. The first set of problems are asking for inductive reasoning. So remember, inductive means look for a specific pattern to predict the next number or the next sequence. So we're looking at this problem, and we're seeing the smiley faces and seeing something that happens with the patterns. And so you're wanting to look at that. So the lines, we have pairs of two. So those two, those two. So we should notice that the next one probably has that same idea. And then we should notice that the smiley faces flip. So in this case, we had one up and one down facing towards it's basically facing there towards that piece. And then with the second two, we flip. So the third one, we are also going to flip. So it means I'll have that smiley face. You're looking for the pattern in doing them. Looking at our next four, these are going to be more likely what you're going to see on the test. You're going to look for patterns of numbers. Things to look for is, did I add something? Did I subtract something? Did I multiply or divide by something? Some of them are going to be easier for you to see, but you have to start playing with the patterns. But what I will suggest is don't always start with the first two, because sometimes that's going to lead you down the wrong path. I suggest starting with the second and third and fourth, and then going back and checking to see if it matches. So what I mean by that is I would look between here on number 20, number 7, or number 2 on your paper, 7 and 11. 7 and 11, if I subtract those, it's 4. If I look at 11 and 15, that's also 4. So if I go back to the first one, it's 4. If it's not adding or subtracting, go to multiplying and dividing. If that doesn't work, go to some other options, which we'll see in a second. So that means we're going to add 4 for my next number, which would be 19 in the pattern. You're going to have to practice these. They're not always going to be intuitive in the beginning when you're doing them. So that was number 2. So let's look down at number 3. So number 3, we're looking at, we have 4, negative 20, 100, negative 500. When you look at this pattern, number 1, you notice that we're alternating negatives, which really just means you're multiplying by a negative number, because the negative number is going to get rid of alternating that piece. We should also see that it's getting really big, so it's probably meaning multiplication. So if we start here, negative 20 divides into 100, it's negative 5. Let's see if that matches the next one. 100 times a negative 5. That works. Let's go back to the first one. 4 times negative 5 gives me the negative 20. So I'm going to take that last number, multiply it times negative 5, and I should get a positive. Now we don't type that positive number into my math lab, but I do that so that I can specifically see that I should have a positive there, because it's easy to mess that part up. I think this might be number 5 on your paper. So if it is, just know that we're going to do this problem first, and then we'll go back to the fraction ones, because that tends to throw people off. Both of these tend to throw people off when we're doing them. I pulled these from an old textbook. That's why they have different numbers written on here. And I think the ones I listed for you, I actually renumbered them. So looking at this first one, it's not a big jump. So we want to first look at it and say, did we add something? So 1 to 3 is 2. 3 to 6 is 3, so I'm not adding the same thing. But 6 to 10 is 4, so we should start to see a pattern there. 10 to 15 is 5. If I go back to this first one, it's 1. So we're adding consecutive integers. So this would be 15 plus the next consecutive integer, which would be 21. Start off assuming, let's look and see if we're adding something. If it's not the same number, again, look at what you are adding. That might not work. Then look at multiplication. When we are dealing with fractions, which is this last one here, I would, again, this is where I especially say don't look at the first one, because that can trick you. But if you have fractions in the rest of them, please put all of them in fraction form, which means rewrite 3 over 1. So the first thing we should notice is that the signs are alternating, which usually means I'm multiplying by a -1, which means positive, negative, which means my last number here in the sequence should be a positive. When we're dealing with fractions, I suggest don't try to look at the whole thing together, meaning ask yourself, break it up. Look at the numerator, look at the denominator. So between the 9 and the 27, we multiplied by 3. Between the 4 and the 16, we multiplied by 4. So we're going to look at the next pair and say, okay, I'm ignoring the negative, but 27 times 3, 16 times 4, that works. Let's go back to this first one. If I had done 3 and 4, that would have given me 9 over 4. So we've already said that it's going to be a positive, which essentially means I actually am multiplying now by a -3/4. But with a fraction, you could do something different to the top and bottom. You could add something on the top, add something on the bottom. So please be careful. Break this up. It happens to be that I could write this in this format. So it actually is -1 over 64 times a -3/4, which gives me the positive. Multiply 81 times 3 in my calculator, which should give me 243 over 256. Do I expect to see like what you're multiplying by? No. Some of y'all will do it again and reason it out, but just be careful. It's easy to type in the wrong answer for these, so double check what you type in. So looking at next one here, which I believe is number 6 on your paper, we're going to start off with inductive reasoning, and it says A through C, and the reason why it says A through C is we're going to do 3 different examples. So on your paper, I think it just says A. We're going to do at least 3 conjectures to decide to 3 examples to come up with a conjecture. So we're going to pick any number and multiply the number. So my first example, let's pick the number 2. That's the number I picked. We're going to multiply that by 4, which is 8. We're going to then add 6 to the product. The product is the number I just got. So 8 plus 6, which gives me 14. We are going to divide that sum that I just got, which was 14. Divide it by 2. That gives me 7. And then we're going to subtract 3 from that quotient, which is 7 minus 3, which is 4. So right now we look at C again, but we can't say something from one piece. So let's look at the second option. Let's pick, again, any number you want. I'm going to pick 3. Multiply that by 4. That gives me 12. Add 6. That gives me 18. Divide that quotient by 2, which gives me 9. Subtract 3, which gives me 6. So again, you may come up with an idea, but really not a good idea to try to decide it based on only 2 options. So we're going to do a third one. So again, you can choose whatever. I tend to pick smaller numbers because it makes it easier to deal with the multiplication when we're doing those problems. So we're going to do 4. Pull this back down. Multiply by 4, which is 16. Add 6 to that product. 16 plus 6 gives me 22. 22. Divide that by 2, which is 11, that quotient by, we're going to divide that sum by 2. We're going to subtract 3 from that quotient. The 11 is my quotient, which should give me 8. So we're not seeing some pattern directly like we had before. Yes, 4, 6, and 8 are even, but we always want to look at if we have a relationship between the first number we started with and the last number we started with to go even more specific. So 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 2 is 8. Now, again, if we started off with 2, it could have been 2 squared, but 3 squared is 9, so that doesn't work. So my conjecture here, and if you're not sure, I said 3 examples, but you can do more than 3. So some of y'all will need to do more than 3. Will be 2 times the original number. That is what I think is going to happen using inductive reasoning. So now we're going to do our deductive reasoning. Our deductive reasoning says use a variable. So we're going to start off with n as my variable. And it is not okay to just go to the last step. You need to show me your steps. I will look at your paper and see, did you actually follow the steps? We're going to multiply this number by 4. So that's 4 times n. We're going to add 6 to that product. So we're going to add 6 to that product. We are going to take that sum, which is 4n plus 6, divide it by 2. If I can simplify, simplify. And be careful here. You divide each piece by 2, so that gives you 2n plus 3. It doesn't just divide one piece. It's dividing by a monomial means divide each piece. So I now have 2n plus 3. And now I subtract 3 from that quotient. So my last step is to subtract 3 from that quotient, which gives me 2n. So I started with n, and I ended up with 2n, which is what my conjecture said. It is not okay to go directly to the answer for this. You need to show each step. Either put commas in between them, put ABCs in between them, but it's really important that you're showing me to follow through on that piece. So number 7, we're going to pick a number and add 1 to it. Find the sum of the new numbers and the original number. This is where, again, you got to be careful. So we're going to come up with examples, again, at least 3, to come up with the relationship. So I'm going to call it 1, 2, and 3. So the first one here, I'm going to pick the number 2 and go through the process. Pick any number and add 1 to it. So 2 plus 1 equals 3. Find the sum of the new number, which is 3, and the original number, which is 2. Be careful. Find the sum, which means add. The new number, which we got was 3, and add the 2, which was the original number, which is 5. Add 9 to that sum, which gives me 14. Divide that new sum by 2, which gives me 7. And subtract the original number, which was 2, from that quotient. So that gives me 5. Again, right now I don't know a relationship between them. I'm going to pick again. I generally pick smaller numbers so that it keeps the arithmetic smaller. I'm going to pick 3. So I'm going to go back to the beginning, pick any number, add 1 to it. So 3 plus 1 gives me 4. We're going to take that new number, which is 4, and we are going to add the original number, which is 3, which gives me 7. We now are going to add 9 to that sum, which is 16. We're going to divide that new sum, which is 16, by 2. And our last step is to subtract the original number. So I'm going back to the 3 for this problem. So we see a pattern. We got 5 again. But we need to do at least a third one to make sure that we're good. So again, I'm going to use 4. You can use whatever you want, but I generally stay with smaller numbers, again, to try to make sure we're going through this. So we start off with 4, add 1, which gives me 5. Find the sum of that new number, which is 5, with the original number, which is 4. That sum gives me 9. We are going to add 9 to that, which gives me 18. We are going to divide that sum by 2, which gives me 9, and we are going to subtract the original number, which I have highlighted, which is 4. So my conjecture for this problem should be that I will always get 5. So that's, again, what I think is going to happen. Now we're going to prove it using deductive reasoning. So I'm going to come over here and do my deductive reasoning on the side. We have to use variables to do that. And again, make sure you show your steps. So I'm going to start off assuming I start with the number n. The first step says pick any number and add 1 to it. So n plus 1. We are now going to, this is the tricky step, we are going to take and find the sum of the original number and add to that new number. So the new number was n plus 1, and we are going to add in, which is the original. So that should give me 2n plus 1, because that's 1n plus 1n. That's how I got the 2n plus 1. I'm now going to take that 2n plus 1, and I'm going to add 9. Anytime I can simplify, I simplify. That gives me 2n plus 10. I'm now going to take that and divide by 2. And remember, when we divide by a monomial, we divide each term. So that's 2n over 2. That's 10 over 2, which gives me an n plus 5. And my last step is to take that number and subtract off the original number, which is n. The original number was n, those n's cancel, and you're left with 5, which is what we expected to get. You're going to need to practice the deductive reasoning problems. So the last two we're going to do for this examples is going to be counterexamples to prove something is false. All we need is one example. So 8 says quotient, which means divide. Any two counting numbers is a counting number. So you're making it fit something that doesn't work. So basically a counting number, remember, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if we can make it not be a counting number, so the easiest one to not be a counting number would be a decimal. That doesn't work. So if I take 5, divide it by 2, that does not go into it evenly. Goes into it, gives me 2.5. That is not a counting number, which is the natural numbers. So that's my counter example. It has to be an example. Number 9, the sum of any 3 two-digit numbers. Sum means add. Any 3-digit numbers. So all you need is an example. Now the first example might not work to prove this is false, but you need an example to do it. So just try one. So if we take 10 plus 11 plus 12, that's going to give me, if I take 10 plus 11 plus 12, I should get 33. That is not a 3-digit number. So that is a counterexample. It can be totally different than this, but you're proving it's false by getting something that doesn't work for that conjecture.